Hello, my name is Cassandra McNeil, and I am a participant in the ED-LD Principal Program at Lamar University. In this reflection, I observed a teacher in her classroom through the lens of an administrator, noting the teacher's attention to learning differences, multicultural awareness, gender sensitivity, and ethnic appreciation. Her activity was well thought out and organized. It was apparent that she had spent time prior to the lesson preparing. She began the lesson by stating her objective and gained her students' attention by using a real-life object. She showed the students that a starfish has 5 legs. She entered this information into an input and output table. She then went on to allow students to make connections. The students were able to do this easily. For example, 2 starfish times 5 legs, 3 starfish times 5 legs, 4 starfish times 5 legs, and 5 starfish times 5 legs. The rule for the input and output table was multiplying by 5. During the modeling portion of the lesson, she allowed students to notice the patterns they were creating. Also, I noticed that she used application level questions. For example, she said, "How many legs do a starfish have?" Or, "What happens if I add another starfish?" Based on the level of this TEK, the application level questioning seemed adequate. Once the teacher was finished modeling the lesson, the students went back to their seats to start a group activity. During the transition, the teacher reinforced positive behaviors. It was obvious the teacher has clear expectations and procedures the students should follow. The entire class went straight to work with little to no issues. In order to support learning differences, she allowed the students to pair up with someone who had a matching bug. Once they found their partner, they were allowed to add to their input and output table. For instance, if they had one bug with 6 legs, the equation was 1 times 6. If they had a partner with the same bug, the equation would be 2 times 6. They continued this process until they had a group of 4. I really liked this group activity. I think that students who needed support felt comfortable asking their peers for help. There was a little confusion when they added members to their group. Some of the bugs did not match exactly, so the students became worried and yelling out for clarification. The teacher did a great job of being aware of multicultural awareness and ethnic appreciation by clarifying directions in Spanish to support their language development. She also evenly distributed questions and answers among boys and girls. I thought a pre-created example of the group work would have been helpful to place at the front of the classroom. There were a few students shouting out for clarification. This would have minimized any confusion. Also, she could have made an extension on the assignment by having them apply the rule from the input and output table they were using to higher numbers or numbers that were not in sequential order. Once the students completed the activity, she had them come back to the carpet and discuss what they had learned. She provided an English sentence stem for them to use when answering her questions. I noticed that she went over to her computer and quickly typed the stem. I believe that this created a problem. The students seemed to have a hard time formulating a response to using the stem. Perhaps using the sentence stem that started off more basic and then scaffolding them into more complex sentences would have helped. She did offer support when the students were struggling, but I do not believe they knew how to use this particular stem. During her lesson closing, a small group of students entered the room. One of the students was very concerned about receiving a bug like the rest of his classmates. He kept interrupting her and asking questions repeatedly. The teacher always maintained her composure, spoke respectfully to the student, and attempted to reassure him that he would receive a bug. To end the lesson, the teacher referred the students back to their objective. She asked the students, how did we use real-life relationships? They explained that they had mastered this part of the objective by using the bugs and counting their legs. Then she asked, how was this information used in a table? The students explained that they used an input and output table. I thought this was a great idea because the students were able to evaluate the objective and determine if they had mastered the TEKS. I would have added a quick way to assess each individual student. They were given time to practice the skill, but it was not evident that they had mastered the skill completely or if they needed reteaching. In conclusion, the lesson was well developed. After the lesson, Ms. Chapa asked me to give her constructive feedback. I immediately became uncomfortable. I was able to point out the things that could be improved, but was fearful of offending or upsetting her. Although I was nervous, I did try to explain my point of view on her use of sentence stems. She said that she had the reason for using the more complex sentence stem. She said that she wanted to challenge them and make them speak to the level of the TEK. This seemed to make sense. However, some additional support was definitely in need. This was the introduction to the TEKs, and to expect them to be able to immediately speak to the level of this for someone who also has limited English ability seemed very challenging. When giving feedback to Ms. Chapa, I also tried to point out the things that went well or seemed exceptional. The students were always engaged in their learning, and she did a great job meeting the expectations of the TEK. Observing the lesson through the lens of an administrator was very exciting. Each teacher across our campus has so many valuable ideas to offer. Our campus climate could grow and unite through sharing of these ideas. As an administrator, I will continue to grow by observing teachers and their ability to engage students during the lessons.